everyone, welcome to the channel. Appreciate you guys watching. This is going to be another radio show. I think this is going to be a pretty cool topic because it's very good information, or at least we think it's good information that everyone needs. There's so many home breaking, home invasions, and so much crime going on that we need to be prepared. So first of all, a couple of announcements. Releasing videos Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So check out the channel. Definitely appreciate the support. Definitely appreciate when you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Also, I'm going to try something new, because this videos may take 30 to an hour, something like that. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to put in the description box, I'm going to put some of the topics and the timestamps. So if you want to go click on the description and go to whatever section of the video you want to go. So I'm going to try that. I don't know exactly how it's going to work. Hopefully it's going to work fine, but if it doesn't work, I'm not an expert on these things. So we got a pretty cool guest today. We got Central Oregon Survival Network. I'm gonna put his channel description below, so make sure you check out his channel as well. So go ahead, bro. Do a quick intro.
Hey, yeah. So this is Central Oregon Survival Network. We're basically an organization out in Oregon that we do a lot of training for preparedness and also some self-reliance and sustainability. And like what we're going to talk about today, we actually do a course on, which is home defense and home security. And Jarhead was he's brought me on so we can talk a little bit about what you need to do and to prepare yourself for maybe a risk of being broken into and you have to defend yourself. So a little bit about myself, background. I've been in the military almost over 20 years, and not that makes me an expert in any type of field, but you know what I mean. But it's a lot of it's common sense, and some of it's looking to find the really good training and the good information and how to find that information. When I first started in this stuff, you go on a website or you go to the internet and you can find pretty much any answer you want, but you need to really look at the information, and see, if it's got resources and if it's good information. Find that good information, and that stuff will help you guys out, in the long run when you start preparing for this type of stuff. So that's a little bit about me.
Definitely. I just want to point out that I got over 300 videos, so that makes me an expert. Just saying.
Especially when you talk about Call of Duty, right?
Yeah. Oh, that was a pretty good video. I don't even know where I come out with these topics, man. But all right, so so I something that I've been preaching here on the channel, and I've been talking about it multiple times, and I was actually talking to my little brother a couple of days ago, is that it is your responsibility to protect yourself, and I've been mentioning this many different times. It is now the cops' police responsibility. It's now the government's responsibility. You have a responsibility to protect yourself and your family, and definitely when it comes down to home defense, that's where it starts. How are you going to protect your family? And I think a lot of people don't know where to start. Guys like me and you, that being into combat operations or combat training, it's pretty simple. It's just kind of like lights up. All right, we need to protect ourselves. We're gonna do A, B, and C. But you talked about preparing yourself. How do you start preparing yourself for this type of situation?
A lot of people come to me and ask me this, and I've actually done evaluations of people's houses, their houses, as to prevention, and when you think about, there's actually really good reports out there, and actually it's from your neck of the woods, from University of North Carolina, did a study of 422 criminals, and they did basically, what their intent was, what they were looking for, how they set their, robberies or burglaries up, and knowing those type of things and those factors, you can take and put some prevention into place before you have to defend yourself in personal security. So just some of the easy stuff you can do is it's out there. Just for instance, it goes off on about 65% of criminals, they look at a house, and if it has a security system, which they'll actually look for, they'll turn around and go the other direction, and that's part of prevention. Even using signs saying you have that type of security stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So definitely preparing yourself goes way more than a lot of guys say, hey, get a gun and go and shoot some rounds and do some training. I mean, what I would think about preparing yourself would be mentally, being, your body physically, because if you have to fight someone, you have to be able to do it. And we talked about this people with medical issues. There's things that you could do to protect yourself. So.
And that, and you're absolutely right. That goes into a lot of what people don't understand. You are absolutely correct. Know your weapon. Know how to use it. Get the training on how to use it. But what a lot of people don't understand is if something happens, you hear that door break in. The first instinct is denial. Okay, what just happened? You're going through this process. You just woke up. Your dexterity's down, you have tunnel vision, and your heart's pounding. So, you're going through this, oh, I got to figure this out. And then you go to your action, I need to take some action. And then, that period of time is maybe the only period of time you have before maybe he enters your room or, heads after a kid's room, something. So, a lot of people don't think about those aspects. They're like, okay, well, I know how to use my gun, which is good. Don't get me wrong. You got to know how to use your weapon, but those are the aspects that you need to be thinking about. Is you're not going to be in a perfect situation, just like you said, health issues and things like that. You might not even get up, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I was watching a video the other day about some home invasion, and I'm not going to mention the channel, but it was pretty big channel, and I mean, we're talking about over 60,000 subs, and one of the things that happened as this home invasion was occurring, it was that the guy jumps out of the bed, goes to his dresser, opens the dresser, take this safe, do kind of like a fingerprint of a code. I can't remember what it is. Take his gun out, and I'm thinking to myself, no, I mean, part of preparing yourself.
The biometric safe.
Yeah, like scan your eyeball, and no, why? That was no preparation. I mean, if something happened, you need to be able to respond, and everything that you do, and I tell this to people all the time, everything that you do before an incident happens, it's just going to increase the ability for you to defend yourself. It's going to increase your chances of making or surviving that encounter. It doesn't mean that you could be the best guy out there and you may get shot. It happens to Marines all the time, and military members, Army, Navies, anybody conducting a combat operation. You could train for 20 years, and next thing you know, you stand up on top of an IED and you die.
Yeah, what? And there's a great book. It's called One Bullet Away. And that's what it means, man. It's like you could train for forever, and it takes one bullet, brother.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty much my thing with this is like you talk about preparing yourself. Anything that you do before that situation, it's gonna give you that extra second. It may save your life. That's it. It doesn't guarantee anything. You're just increasing your chances of making it. That's typically how I see it.
And you're absolutely right. And I know some people probably laugh at this, but one of the actual practical exercises that are within the course is actually laying in your bed and just doing a dry run. How long does it take you to get ready with a weapon? Does it take you 15 seconds? Does it take you 30 seconds? And then you also look at, okay, if a criminal's coming through my front door, what have you done to it? Have you take that prevention? Have you added anything to it? A nice deadbolt? Did you use some easy armor? And just talk about that really quick. I don't know if your listeners know about it, but easy armor, which is a door jam armor, is amazing. It's like $68. There's lots of videos on YouTube on it, and it secures your front door. I mean, I have to say, it's an amazing product. And on top of that, if you don't have $68, look at your door frame. Pull out a couple screws out of your hinge system. And if they're 1-inch screws, change them to 3-inch screws. You're going to make it that much harder for that criminal to get through your front door. And a lot of home invasions, and just to define home invasion, that basically means when somebody comes into your house illegally and you're actually in occupancy of the home. There's robbery, which is completely different. But like I said, if it takes him 30 seconds to 45 seconds to get to that door, that's plenty of time to be ready in my mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And one of the things that I typically talk about, you're defining home invasion, is that if someone's coming inside your house at 1 o'clock in the morning, and you know you have cars in the front in your driveway. You have two cars, a car, whatever. Your vehicle is there, and someone kicks that front door. That person is coming to do bad things to you,
Absolutely correct.
or at least has the intent to do it. You know, he may steal your money, he may steal whatever, but he's ready to kill you or do whatever he wants. So
Yeah.
I think it's kind of funny when people typically says, "Well, I got a gun," and I always says, "Well, the bad guy has a gun too, buddy, and
Yeah,
he
and
knows how to use it."
and
You know?
unfortunately, and off of the studies, 64% of all home invasions or burglaries, they're looking for drugs. 64%. So either they're on them, or they're in a couple group. That goes back to the other stuff that I think you had in one of your videos. Is they're not going to be by themselves usually. There's going to be 2 to 3 people, even a getaway car. So that's, I know it sounds silly, but that's the statistics.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
You know, I don't think people could be mentally prepared to deal with those things. So there's things out there that you're not mentally prepared. I mean, you're gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to respond. But I don't being mentally prepared for that is scary, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and like I talked about before, your heart's going to be pumping. You're going to have tunnel
Hmm.
vision. I mean, it's just who in their right mind has to deal with that. And it's your home. They're violating your personal space. And
Yeah.
that's terrifying in itself.
Yeah.
And and kind of what got me into this, and just to tell a little bit of a story. I had a good friend that lived down the road from me, and his wife got really into some bad drugs, and she started hanging out with the wrong people, and I started helping him out, so she started sending some of these people my way, and that kind of got me into looking at preparing and securing my home. And one night about 11:30, I had 2 of them on my property, and they were casing my property, and one actually came to the front door. So, and the situation turned out good, where I didn't have to fire any rounds. Nothing happened. It was
Mhm.
enough that he saw the end of a shotgun barrel and he was gone. But that goes back to kind of what you said in a prior video. I think it was the Call of Duty video. You said barricade your door. You stay in your room, and if you don't have to kill somebody, I totally agree with you. Don't run through there thinking like operator and you're going to kill somebody. It goes back to the military. 70 to 75% of mount operations with military operations in urban terrain.
Mhm.
You're gonna take a bullet. It's dangerous. It is absolutely dangerous.
Yeah.
And I also talk to people about when they're doing instructions or preparing themselves. Go in your house and see what's the longest distance shot you think you're gonna have to make. What, 3 to 8? Really, realistically, But when you go back to barricading yourself, even the NRA says that. The NRA says, in some of their instructional videos, is to dial 911 and, like you said, barricade yourself and wait for the police to come.
Yeah.
But in my situation, it's a little bit different. I have kids, and you did mention that.
Mhm.
I have kids, and fortunately, my front door is by my staircase, so I have to be the aggressor, and I've planned for that. I made a contingency plan for that actual, if it ever happened and they came through my front door. I've actually positioned, a bookcase to, because walls, of course, are not bullet stoppers,
Mhm.
So unfortunately, to be an aggressor, and I don't want to be, but my kids are number one to me, and my
Yeah.
family, just like you said 100 times, your family's the most important, and that's what you're protecting.
Yeah. No, and I think that's. I mean, I feel you. I do the same thing. I go through the whole house to to go and look for my kids. But
You betcha, yeah.
you know what I'm saying? One of the things that I like to tell people is that, like what you just said, identify things that is going to help you out,
Yep.
and even identify yourself. What can you do? How can you do it? Like me, we're talking about having back issues. I know if I have to fight someone, I know my back could give out on me. So I need to think about that. I may need to have something that is going to give me that advantage, like maybe hiding a pistol somewhere in the house that is safe from the kids. But if
Yep.
something happened in this location, I know I have that. And it doesn't have to be a pistol. It could be a metal pipe or something, anything
And,
that is going to give you that
and you
advantage.
and
But
you actually hit another subject on the same long lines. Is we have a few people that are not necessarily not gun into guns, but they are not real educated into guns. So we also teach a non-lethal, as far as like getting to your kid's room, having an escape route, not have, if they don't have weaponry to fight with, they know how they can get out of the house, and
yeah,
also stashing things like baseball bat, something to fight with, if that occasion. And we're talking probably about pretty a pretty rare. It's a rarity, you know, if it does happen. But it depends on where you live. You know, it really does. You know, like in my situation, the cops are at least 25 minutes away, at least.
Yeah.
You know, unless I had one that was somehow in the local area. So I either need to take action or get out. You know, those are my two go-tos. You know.
Yeah, and you know, I'm probably about 10 to 15 minutes away from the cops too, and it's not only one cop. A lot of times the cops show up, and he's gonna have to wait for the second one, so they could probably, you know, back up all that stuff. So we're not even looking for one. Typically we're looking for two, which is it just like destroys the ads even worse. But I think
you're absolutely right. Anytime they say that a gun's in a situation, they usually have to before they even enter the house or deal with the situation. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. I mean, I work as a police officer. That's what we did. We may have one guy, like walk around the house or close to the house, trying to collect some intelligence and waiting in the other guy. But and again, it could be up to the cop too. If I'm a police officer and I hear shots fired, and I know it's a family there, morally I may go into to help, but who knows? But yeah, having a plan, that's part of the preparing yourself we talked about. Having a plan. Tell me some things that you think should be in that plan other than the things that you already discussed.
So another thing that we do, and I like doing this exercise a lot, but the very first thing that we start out in the class is we actually give everyone sheets of paper and say, draw your house plan out. Just draw it out from memory. Where's your entrances? Where's your exits? Where's everything at in your home? And it's interesting to see how many people don't know out of their house, and where the windows and everything are. Once they complete that, we ask them, where's your dedicated first aid kit if something happens? Simple stuff like that. Where's your, we don't need to see it, but where's your personal weapon located? Where's your secondary? So they start building this plan out of their layout of their home. And then we start talking about evacuation routes. We start talking about, like you said, using different types of things within your home, using your home to your advantage. Where is your advantage points? That's what we build basically for them, so that it gets them into thinking, into that plan, into that system. And I've had a lot of people coming back to me wanting to come to their home and saying, hey, can you help me out with this? Because, unfortunately, some, and I get a lot of, in our group, we've got a lot of, not necessarily elderly, but we got some older folks, and they just don't know. They don't know all this stuff. But that's a good, like you said, that's a good plan to start with, is just knowing your house, knowing your home, and going out. And we can go to exterior security. There's a lot of stuff that goes on with that, with lighting, dead space, a lot of stuff with that. But I think that's a good place to start, is knowing your home, know how to use your home to your advantage, and getting escape routes. Because like you said before in a couple of your other videos, do I really want to shoot a kid for stealing a TV? No. He can have it. He can take it with him. I don't care. I don't want shooting a 17-year-old kid on my conscience. Sorry. If they're coming there to do bodily harm, that's the difference. And you're right. You might not know that. You might not know that they're in there just to steal a TV or to do bodily harm. But I'm not going to hold it. I'm going to identify my target. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to identify my target. I know it's split second, but again, flashlight work. That's we talked about having stuff. What are you going to use? Are you going to use a just a pistol? Are you going to have a flashlight, which I highly recommend? And then knowing how to use a tactical flashlight is very important. Not silhouetting yourself. How do you identify your target and do it quickly? But that's just some of the places you can start.
Yeah. It's kind of a couple of, I said maybe a month or so ago, a couple of months ago, I was taking a shower, and I hear this noise, and I automatically jump out of my shower, and it was a really bad noise, which comes to find out was my dog going up the stairs. But it was actually one of the first times she comes up the stairs. She never goes up.
Scares the heck out of you.
It scared the heck out of me, and now she goes up the stairs all the time. But anyways, jump out of the bathroom, and I immediately grabbed my Glock 17, which I had like right there, but it was dark. And I couldn't find my flashlight.
Oh.
And it was one of those things that it's kind of like a dry run. If it would have been something like really bad happened, I would have had a flashlight, and I kind of beat up myself for it. And my wife is kind of like, "Why are you, maybe a Marine thing?" I'm like, "No, I should know with my flashlight." Yeah. You know what I'm saying? When you're like, "No." Yeah. This could have been something really bad, and
it could have.
But and now
see, that's another factor that you just mentioned there is is, and I don't want to go to the extreme with this, but how many times, and I know I'm guilty of it, but how many times have you heard something crash, maybe the wind blew over a garbage can, something happened, you get up, you don't bring your weapon, you don't bring your flashlight, and you go investigate it without anything. You
Yeah.
know, I'm guilty of it. You know, and
Oh,
I don't want to get to an extreme portion of this where, you know, you're carrying a gun around everywhere you go, but at the same point in time, you know,
it's
that's your protection, you know.
it's actually funny that you mentioned that because well, pretty much what I got out of that is that I actually ordered one of those TLR 3 flashlight for my Glock, which I ordered like a which I'm not a fan of having a I'm not too much of a fan of having a flashlight on my pistol. But for
I'm
home
not either.
defense, I wanted to have the whole package. I still have another flashlight, but if something like that happened to me again, I just want to have a flashlight on my gun. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Those
Oh
are me. I'm
yeah.
gonna use it or not. Is my home defense pistol. It's sitting in my 9 table, sitting in my dress or whatever. So it's not like I'm carrying that gun. But you just mentioned that. Yesterday when I came back from vacation, I don't know when I'm gonna post this video, people, but I went to take out the trash, or I went to do something in the car, and the trash can kind of flipped, and my neighbor came out of the house with his gun. It's kind of funny. Marines, you know Marines. My neighbor comes
Oh
out
yeah.
in front of me, like comes out in PJs, no shirt, and a pistol in his hand. And I'm like, oh, he tells me, oh man, I heard a noise, and he thought somebody was kicking the garage because I got one of those big trash can fell in the middle of the road kind of thing. But either way, he was now holding a flashlight, and it's pretty dark. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
not completely dark, but it's dark enough for you to be able to use a flashlight. It was probably, man, 2200, 10 o'clock Eastern
Yeah.
time, something like that. But yeah, good point on that.
You know, and you're absolutely right. It's, you know, you got to identify. You know, I mean, how many incidents? I actually, a good friend of mine, he's actually been in law enforcement 23 years, and he actually had talks about that. You know, there was a gal's boyfriend that got shot climbing out the window. She, you know, the whole, you know, she brought up her boyfriend over through the window late at night, and the dad woke up, saw a guy coming through the window, and put 2 rounds into him. You know, and that's find your target. You know, yes, there's ways to do it correctly, and that's important because if you flag yourself and they have a weapon, guess what happens? You get shot. You know,
Yeah.
you got to know how to use it, how to identify your target. There's plenty of different flashlight holds. There's tons of videos on YouTube, you know, on it. You know, so it's just important to identify that target. You know, and it could be you know, a relative. You know, you got to be
Mhm.
careful.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because sometimes I get these comments and people, well, I took this class from this guy and I took this class from some other guy and this guy said, and people, we are not experts. This is a
Yeah.
conversation. This is for you to listen and say, oh, and when you were talking about common sense, sometimes you got to say, man,
Yeah.
maybe if I do this, this happened, and it's kind of funny. This is a lifestyle.
It
Um,
is.
right before I left for vacation, I left for a few days. My wife, I told her, hey, close the back door, and it's just funny. She's so awesome. She has to be my wife, because she takes the trash
Yeah.
can and she puts the trash can, behind the door. So if you
Mhm.
open the door, the trash can is gonna either fail, move out of the way. Yeah, people could put it back where it is, possibly not, but it's definitely not gonna stop anybody from breaking in. But her idea was like somebody comes inside the house and that trash can is out of place. That gives me an indicator somebody came inside the house, and you know what I'm saying. One of those things that I was like, just basic thinking.
Yeah.
Think,
That's
just think
yep.
anything. So, I see guys spending a lot of money. I seen guys putting 4x4 in the back of the doors. Just have a plan. Just think about something. If this happened, this is
Yeah.
what I'm gonna do. If you remember the active shooter situation was maybe a year ago or something, at the airport, people running inside the bathroom. There's no escape route. We need to
No.
think. And I get it. It's a hard situation. People shooting at you. You're scared. I get that. But the way to survive is for you to be able to think a way out. If you don't
Yep.
think a way out, you will be a victim. People will kill you.
Yeah,
And
absolutely, absolutely, and that's like you said, having a plan, being mentally prepared, you know, and you're never going to be prepared for every situation. Like you said, like you said, this is a conversation, not experts. We may teach this class in my organization, but it's more of a group discussion the way that we teach the class, because you're always learning from everybody. I have a lot of prior law enforcement guys in the class, and they absolutely love it. They love putting their input in there, and it just makes that class that much better. It's helping each other. It's the same thing. Good information is good information.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So one of the things that I, just talking about the plan, and adding up some more stuff. You said the outside, the inside. Some of the things that I never hear people talking too much about is the whole medevac, or what if you shoot somebody? What if I go down? And I think that's critical, because like yourself, you say, hey, I'm gonna go across my house, or maybe across a hallway or something, to go and get my children, and definitely I would do the same thing. But what
Hmm.
if you go down as you walking over there? What is your family gonna do? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And that's something that you have to discuss with your wife. Hey, if I go down, you need to do this, because pretty much your responsibility is gonna land on you to protect our family. You know what I'm saying? And it could
absolutely.
be. I know you have a big boy up there. One of your sons is a pretty big boy. And, it,
He is a big boy.
yeah. Oh, you should see my 6-year-old, man. He's a big boy too. I can't wait. Like, I actually saw that video and I was like, man, I can't wait until I do things like that with my kid. But
Oh yeah, and he loves it.
yeah, it's coming. It's coming. But the responsibility of protecting the family could fall on him.
Yep.
So it's just,
Yeah,
I mean,
and
it's
you're
scary.
right. That's just like preparing my wife. I've done a lot of work with her to get her up to the level she is now, and I have a couple of videos and stuff on it, using alternative methods, using airsoft guns, because she knows how to shoot, she knows her weapon, she loves her weapon, but I also want her to understand how to shoot on the move, and different perspectives, and it kind of falls into the right weapon for the right person. You can't throw a 357 Magnum at a gal, and say, all right, there you go. If anybody walks to this door, shoot them. Because it might be you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you got to really work with your wife. You got to work with even your kid. Your oldest, he
Mhm.
is great with weapons. Great,
Mhm.
and I've taken a lot of time to get him to that point. And
Yeah.
that's really important. It makes it. You made a really good point about what happens if you do go down.
Something too that you mentioned, the medical kit. I think a lot of families.
Yes.
I don't know, man. I always say, and I'm guilty myself too. Sometimes I have failed to buy some preps just because I want to buy that new gun that just came out. So I guess everybody's
Not
guilty
you.
in a way. But yeah, I was actually talking to my wife about this, and we had to store some rice, and I was like, I can't buy that gun. I had to start storing some food, and I didn't want to get caught up in that mentality. But the medical situation, having that first aid kit, or even how do you provide first aid? Basic things like stop the bleeding and things like that. Or when do I actually want to do it? Because like I said, if you find yourself in a firefight or straight off, contact in the middle of the hallway, do I want my wife to go up there and rescue me in a kind of way? Do I want her to stay with the kids? And that's a pretty bad situation because you just got
It is.
shot. But and your wife may be through all those emotions. Girls like my husband is there, but
Yeah.
probably the most safe matter is for her to stay in her room with the kids, because if she
Yeah.
comes out, she may get caught in the fight. So I guess all
Yeah. I
different
you
things
know
that has to be
and
talked in the plan. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
and you are absolutely right. And when it goes into that first aid kit, that's one of the reasons why we say, "Hey, where is your dedicated first aid kit?" I actually created a list, a chart, basically that walks you through your entire house, and it will grade you on your personal security and your plan. And it's kind of like I talked to you about when I was working
Hmm.
on some other side projects. That's part of that kit. But in that, like you said, with your first aid kit, I'm pretty lucky. My wife's almost been in the military 20 years herself, so
Yeah.
she's good with weapons and she knows first aid. And you don't need a huge first aid kit. And I know this sounds cheesy, but the military has a really good first aid, for bullets bullet wounds, get some of their books, and it's being treating for shock and waiting for that ambulance to come. You need to stop that bleeding, and you need to treat them for shock, and that's it's important. As well as I do, man. You were out there in combat before too.
Yeah, and I mean, the we got to be careful with a lot of companies out there because there's so many companies selling products and trying to make a money out of this new industry in a way. But like you say, in this situation, this is not a survival situation. You need something that is going to stop the bleeding, treat for shot, and you need something that is going to last for the first 10 to 20 minutes because hopefully the police will show up there. But at the latest 20 minutes, the cops should be there by then. But if not, I mean, you're in a really bad place. But what I'm saying is that you don't need to have a 3-pack Black Hawk system full of medical supplies, but you do need to have a basic supplies. That's just what I think.
And that's, what you made another good point is, be careful with a lot of these websites out there. They're gonna go off the charts with home invasion, and you need this, and you need this, $1,500 security system, and and it goes back to you don't need that Black Hawk Down type. Oh, I need this huge trauma kit, and just learn the basic skills. That can save somebody's life, that can literally save somebody's life. And just learn those basic skills, have that basic setup, wait for advanced medical support, and, hope to God you're never in that situation. But, that's the way to look at it,
Yeah. It's crazy because some time ago I had a guy, I guess the guy before me living in this house had an alarm, and one of the salesmen from that company came here and tried to sell me his alarm, and I told him no, but he pretty much gave me the sign. He's like, hey, look, put the sign out there. And I'm thinking, well, I don't have, it's nice because it deters. One of the things I want to do is deter the bad guys, either alarms, dogs, turning the light on in the front of the house. But just having that sign out there is going to deter the bad guys, and I didn't pay anything. And the guy pretty much told me, well, that gets advertising to the company. So
wow.
Yeah, kind of like
that's a bonus. And I'm not promoting for any type of security system, but I've done a lot of research on it, and the simplysafe.com, it's a great product. It's all wireless. You can install it yourself. Basic package is like $200, and it costs you $15 a month. It doesn't really do me a whole lot of good because I'm 25 minutes away from the police. By the time most criminals are in and out in 5-10 minutes tops. And they've got whatever they're going to get. So because they understand that, they know that cops can be there within a certain amount of time, and they're in and out. But like you said, that's an excellent. You can all the different alarm signs online. Go to eBay, you can find them all, and you can get them for reasonably cheap. Stick them out there. I've got several on the fence, and it's a deterrent. Even off of 422 study of different people, 60% of those people will turn around once they see that sign or they identify that you have an alarm system. Even your fake cameras, and this is a big one with me, is don't go out to Harbor Freight or some cheap place and buy this camera. It looks like a plastic toy. If you're thinking about putting some sort of fake camera in, go out there. There's a lot of companies that actually sell their camera, just the shell, for almost half the price, but it looks 100% real, and that's another huge deterrent. Just some stuff on your outside security. Lighting is the biggest one, though. You already touched on that.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. But let me ask you something. A lot of people always get into the whole which one is the best gun, the shotgun, the pistol, and like people. I gotta tell you, man, I love YouTube. There's so many videos, good videos here. Some people just think too much about different situations, like whatever works for you, man, as long as it's a respectable caliber and it has a good amount of bullets, I'm good with that. But what do you think about that?
Man, I think you're just ahead right there. You could talk for days on this subject and go back and forth with tons of people. Big thing, you just said it. Basically, the biggest caliber weapon that you can comfortably shoot and have, and a high capacity. Those are the two big ones right there. Because like with my wife, she has an XD, and it's a 15 round 9mm, and I prefer Glock. She just happens to like the XD. That's what she likes, and she's comfortable with it. It's a high capacity, and the last thing I want her to do is, like I said earlier, when you got tunnel vision, your heart is just pounding, and you're groggy, and you're trying to reload a 5-shot revolver after you just unloaded it. Yeah, you got 5 shots, but I'd rather have her having 14 shots and being able to take and hide the kids behind her and just keep shooting. Just keep shooting, and to reload, as well as I did, reload the same automatic, reload it, and go.
Well, the biggest thing I've seen with the shotguns or rifles versus pistols is just how you're gonna maneuver that weapon. That's it. Other than that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, if you get hit with a shotgun, you're gonna take them down. But you just got to keep in mind how you're going to maneuver that weapon, and if that's going to be your weapon, you just got to train on it. That's the thing that I do. There's nothing wrong with carrying a shotgun or carrying a pistol. Just know how to use it. And
yeah, and you go back to that shotgun comment. I don't know if it was you that did the video on how to, if somebody grabs the end of it, how to actually get it away from them. Wasn't an older video of yours? Did you do that one?
Yeah,
and that was a great. Yeah, and that was a great video. There's nothing wrong with a shotgun, just like you said. It's training, it's knowing how to use it, knowing, it's just like a pistol. You got to know what's behind your target. I mean, everything applies to that. And the step back method. If they grab the end of it, step back, pull the trigger. I mean, it's that simple. You're gonna take a piece of them with it. But yeah, I like that video you did. That's an excellent video of showing how to maneuver it. One of the things that NRA talks about is sometimes it's nice having 2 hands. The reason being is, like you mentioned it earlier, self-defense. Leaving one hand, tucking your pistol, leaving one hand out so that you can defend yourself and still shoot the target. And that's to me, that's pretty important. But I'm not going to say shotgun better than a pistol better than a shotgun. It's personal preference, I think, when it boils down to it.
I talk to people about this a lot of times, and I always tell them, look, just don't be a victim. Because a lot of people ask this question, like, what do you do if you run out of rounds? What do you do if you have to reload on somebody doing this? What do you do if this? I mean, I get the what if. What do you do?
What if? Yeah.
And I love the what if, because what if it kind of allows you to train. Okay, if this happened, what am I going to do? So it kind of helps me make those contingency plans. But at the same time, at one point we have to what if. You do whatever you have to do, and we know that. I mean, if that requires for you to throw your cell phone at his face in order to escape, you do that. If you're in the kitchen and you got to grab a knife, you do that. If you have to hit it with a chair, I mean, definitely the best way to win the situation is to walk away, like we talked, either escape or barricade yourself and wait for the police. But if something happens, don't scream like a little girl. Fight. That's what I'm saying. Fight.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It kind of reminds me of a buddy of mine in Marja in Afghanistan in 2010. He actually ran out of rounds, and he was attached to a British thing, a squad or platoon, whatever it was, and he was a canine dude, and he ran out of rounds. And I asked him, imagine fighting these people in Marja, one of the worst places in Afghanistan. And he looked at me and he said, "What do you think I did?" And he kind of gave me like this face, like, "What do you think I did, man?" Because I asked him, "What do you do when you run out of rounds?" And it goes back to the same thing. You do whatever you have to do to survive and protect your family. Just don't be a victim. That's kind of my philosophy here in the compound.
It's funny you mention that story too, and that go back to your personal security stuff. It is amazing, and I'm just to throw that out there, but it is amazing how fast you can go through a magazine when a threat level is. I know you've been there, brother, and man, the first time talk about any specifics, first time in an engagement, a firefight, I thought I shot 1 round. I shot 30 rounds. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, thank God for muscle memory. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. And it's one of the things that I'm actually you talking about this course that you teach, because I haven't seen too many courses out there from too many different guys. I mean, yours I know you talked about this in a couple of times in emails or PMs and stuff, but I cannot tell you all the companies that are teaching home defense, and I think that's a pretty good topic in a way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's interesting how it came about, and I told you about my experiences with why I started doing it, and then doing, I guess you call it an organization that we do at Central Oregon Survival Network. um, it is interesting how much interest that I got so many people, and I just kind of threw it out there. I made the class. I did it all off of my experiences plus my knowledge of weaponry. I also have done and I don't another thing, I don't do a lot of weapons videos. There's enough out there,
Yeah.
but you know and I took a lot of statistics, FBI, and I looked at university, studies on criminals, and to really look into it and see what criminals look at, and that's what's important, in order to have a good defense, and prevention, and that's a big thing, is just preventing it. If you can prevent it from happening, that's number one. You talked about it. You don't want you don't want to be in a firefight. I'm just gonna tell you right now,
Yeah.
it's no fun. That's the big thing that I teach, is prevention. And you say like teach. I do teach the subject, but at the same time, I also have my students teach the subject. It's kind of the way that we teach our classes at Central Oregon Survival Network. Is
Mhm.
It's almost a group learning environment. We stay on topic. I present the material, I talk about the material, and then we talk about it as a group. And I try to open people's eyes up through doing those practical exercises. When I say, okay, draw the layout of your house. Where is this? Where's your escape routes? And then they look at me with this blank stare, going, wow, I never thought about this. I should plan for this. And it just wakes them up. And then after we do the, interior, we get to the exterior, and we talk about how to use your house to your advantage. And then we go into the big controversy, the right weapon for the right person. But I approach that in a very subtle way, and get into that subject. But
Yeah. I think it's good that you part of the plan that always, we talked about discussing the plan with the family, but those practical applications, because you just talked about it. Where's your your first aid kit? And it took me about a second to think where it was. You know what I'm saying? And, I mean,
it
I'm just
does.
it took me like where, and I automatically I got two places where I got first aid, but that extra second that it took me, okay, where it is. I can tell you where my gun is right now, but my first aid kit, it took me a second. So
Yeah,
I need to refresh.
yeah, and it's made to make people think. Once they do that layout, we also talk about, not just that. We also talk about, simple stuff like, where's your fire extinguisher at? Do you got one? You never know if you got an arson. Where's your emergency lighting at? We talked about, where's the flashlight? Where's your backup flashlight? Is there one by the door? Because you might have to go outside. And we talk about a little bit above and beyond that once we get to the, because sometimes, and I'm not going to go into the prepper world because that's not what this is about, but we also talk about having a prepared bag. If you got to do your escape route, you want to have something with you. You want to have clothes. And we're not talking about, oh, I'm going to survive out in the woods
Yeah.
for 72 hours. We're talking about just having a bag that you can grab with you that has extra coats if it's cold outside, things like that. If that is your plan, make sure that you incorporate that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I talked about that in the families here in the channel too, having a rally point. If you actually
Yep.
find yourself in a straight up fight, and you may want to send your kids out, providing that, in a way, cover fire, whatever you call it in the civilian sector. Where are they gonna go? You don't want to have your boys walking around the city. You want them to go to a specific point so you can meet up there. So
Yep.
definitely a good point.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And then what we just really quick as we move into, a lot of the exterior stuff, and we almost do the same thing as we take that drawing that they originally did, and then we move to the exterior and say, okay, where's your emergency lighting? Where's is it the censored lighting? Do you wish to have cameras outside? In my area, not really a big deal, but still to think about the different things and getting them involved in thinking about that. And a lot of people, it get into some controversy. They want to put the whole I'll shoot you if you get onto my property, or beware of the gun owner. That's okay, if you want to do that, but then you're also letting them know that you have guns indoors, so they'll wait till you leave, come in your house and steal your guns.
yeah,
You got to think about, outside the box, and that's what we try to get them involved in thinking
I
and
think
thinking
those
ahead
guys are
like
gonna
that.
scare
Even
the.
just as,
Yeah.
what's
I
that?
just think those guys are gonna. I just think those guys are gonna scare the not really the bad guys. The bad guys don't care. The bad guys will
Nope.
still. hit your house, and they still take your stuff. They just don't care. They have guns too.
No. Yep,
So
exactly.
um,
Exactly. And now they want yours. You
now.
know?
Oh man! All right. So, what are some things? I think we're coming up to 42 minutes. What are
Okay.
some things that you you know, some things that you recommend? If you're starting from zero, new guy wants to prepare his house and doesn't have a lot of money, so he wants to do something to be a little bit more safe. What do you think? What would you recommend?
I think just right off, we already talked about is having a plan. I think that's number one. It doesn't cost you any money. You can think about a plan. You know how to use your house. I think that's a number one. Escape routes, your kids, everything talked about. I think that's the number one thing. Doesn't cost you any money. I think number two is making sure your house is secure. Lock your doors. I know a lot of people don't even lock their front doors, back doors, leave windows open. Secure it. Secure your house. Get that secure. Doesn't cost you money again. And then you can start looking at a few other things. Like I mentioned, your front door costs you what, $3.99 at Home Depot for some 3-inch screws. Replace your screws on your doors. I mean, I've went through 2 front doors and I can't tell you how easy it is. It's like butter. I'm sure you've done it in the MPs. It's amazing how fast you can open a front door just by kicking her in. And then some doors are secure and it's pretty hard to get through. But I think a big one that a lot of people would just do is situational awareness, brother. Going through the studies that I have through different colleges and universities, and there's a lot of scholarly studies and stuff out there on it. They actually case your house, and it's usually more than one. There's usually 2. Some don't. Don't get me wrong. You've got the drug users, things like that. They're just like, okay, I'm gonna go in this house. I'm gonna get what I can, and I'm done. Those usually front door kickers. A lot of them are. And statistically speaking, I can't remember. I think it's about 75%. Front doors is in most. It's not most areas, but common in a lot of urban areas is go right through the front door. Because they want to get in, they want to get out quick. But going back to that, like I said, the plan I think is number one. And get yourself, like you harp on all the time, get yourself some training. If you're gonna use a weapon, know how to use it. If you already have one, get some extra training. And it goes back to a video you've done before. Is make sure you know who you're getting the training from, and make sure it's good training. Ask around, look at the reviews. There's got to be reviews on instructors out there online or whatnot, or ask people that went to that school and just say, hey, how was that? Was that instructor good to go? You got to know what you're getting yourself into. Even accredited instructors sometimes are good for some people and not good for others, and I think you know what I mean by that. You just got to find a really good instructor that suits you. We have a couple out here in the local area, and you just gotta research it, and review it, and then train, just like you said before.
One thing that I'm gonna add up to that plan is something that I said in the past is write it down. You'll be surprised when you write something down. Just having that plan and writing that down, kind of like an SOP, standard operation procedure. It's kind of funny, but if you write it down and you could see it page by page, you could visually identify areas that you need to work on, and you write it down, and then that kind of gives you a document that you could review with your family. And I know it sounds kind of weird, but I don't know. Sometimes when I write things down, I could see, okay, I gotta hit point A, point B, and that. So that's good. So, all right. So I think we're coming up to closing time. Definitely appreciate you guys watching. Definitely go ahead and check out. You want to give a plug to your channel?
Oh yeah, like I said before, if you come over to the channel, I got a lot of different stuff, but I don't do a lot of gun reviews, just to let that right off the bat. And I've been thinking about doing some home security, home defense type videos. I haven't at this point, just simply because there, as he mentioned, I guess there's not much out there. I really haven't looked on YouTube to see how many there was. A few videos, of course, but I don't have a lot of the home security, home defense stuff. But I have a lot of good videos. You want to come over and take a look, and I appreciate it and appreciate everything you do for Jarhead and everything you can do. Subscriptions are great, followers are great. YouTube's an awesome community.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, you got your ones and twos that cause trouble, but overall, I think we have a lot of people trying to get information.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. It's I know exactly what you're saying, and that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. You know what I mean? It's like that. that's all great. If you want a couple ones and twos of me, it's all good, man.
I think I put a New Year's video and I got 2 dislikes. All I said was Happy New Year. Who dislikes a Happy New Year video, man?
Yeah,
That's just
that was when
not
you were in
cool.
the car.
Yeah, I was in the car. Yeah, yeah. I wasn't gonna do a video, but I have my cell phone. So like, oh, I should tell you guys Happy New Year, and it was just very quick. But either way, definitely appreciate you guys watching. You know, like I said, we're not experts or anything. It's just starting to have a conversation. I think that's like point one. Definitely not a video where you're gonna get all the information, but you're gonna get some information, and you can watch another, a bunch of other videos that we have in the channel and other channels, and you can start building that amount of information that you need to have to protect yourself. It's a lot of simple ways to do it. You don't have to spend a ton of money. A lot of good ideas here, just like we talked about, lighting, dogs, and different ways to deter the bad guys from attacking you. Situational awareness is a big one. Staying in shape, being able to defend yourself. And I got to tell you, and I said this in the past, I definitely believe that it is your responsibility to take care of yourself. And if you're a father, a man out there, it is your responsibility to take care of your family. And that's what I believe. Given to you by God, you need to take care of your family. So with that being said, definitely like the video if you liked it. We appreciate you guys' support. Stay tuned to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and check out Central Oregon Survival Network. And as always, God is in control.